Hi, my name is Megan Fergusson. I'm a Veterinary Investigation Officer for SRUC. Today we're going to have a quick chat about house and cattle and how you can set yourself up for a really easy, stress-free, hopefully, and a healthy and productive winter. So here we are at the back end of the year. We've had a great summer. So some of you will be thinking about housing some cattle or might already have done so. Housing cattle should be a straightforward procedure, but there are a few things you can think about to try and set yourself up for that easy, stress-free, healthy and productive winter. So one of the biggest complaints that we get through the winter is pneumonia in cattle, in-house cattle, also known as bovine respiratory disease. It's a complex of disease, so it's not caused by one particular thing. The two main things that influence it are the immune system and what we call the pathogen load. So we'll look at these individually. So the immune system is hugely influenced by stress. Any stressful event causes a rise in cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and this affects the ability of the immune system to respond to a threat. So housing is a really stressful experience for animals. They've been out at grass all summer, they've had plenty of food in front of them, they've had plenty of lying space, and then when they're housed, they're brought into a smaller space. They might have to compete a bit for feed, for lying space. They have to find their water source again. They can't get away from the bully cow as easy. So all this causes a rise in cortisol, which will affect the immune system. So just think about that when you're bringing them in. Make sure they've got plenty of space, plenty of feed space available, that sort of thing. Other things that affect the immune system are concurrent disease. So this year's been a bumper year for lungworm. So any animals that are coming in with a lungworm burden will already be predisposed to be getting pneumonia over the winter. So have a chat with your vet about doing some testing or what treatment should be given at housing to make sure they're not bringing a lungworm burden inside with them. Based on previous years, some of you might use vaccination as a way of controlling pneumonia through the winter. But what you have to remember about vaccines is they rely on the immune system responding to get the benefit of them. So if you're trying to give a vaccine when an animal's already stressed, the cortisol is going to dampen down your immune system and you're not going to get full benefit of that vaccine. So what you need to do is get your vaccines in a good couple of weeks before housing and make sure the course is completed a good couple of weeks before housing and you'll get maximum benefit of them so that the immune system is ready to respond when the threat is there rather than 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later down the line. So that's the immune system. Pathogen loads. So what is the pathogen load? There are 7 different bacteria and viruses that can cause bovine pneumonia. And even if your immune system is seriously good, on form, if you've got a really high pathogen load, you'll still get disease. So as well as having a really good immune system, we need to try and keep the pathogen load down. So how do we do that? So the first way is ventilation. We've all heard housing talks bang on about ventilation, but that's because it's so important. How it works is animals will breathe out hot air. This hot air will be full of bacteria and viruses. And we need that hot air to escape out the shed. So it should escape out an open ridge on the top. And this is what we call the stack effect. As that hot air escapes out the top, we should have fresh air drawn in from the sides. So you need to look at your sheds and make sure that that is able to happen. Some sheds, if you have really small animals, younger animals, or shed with really high roofs, you might not get a stack effect. So you might need to look at other ways, such as fans, that sort of thing, to make sure that the dirty air is moving out and pulling fresh air in. Other reasons for there being a high pathogen load is if you've got older animals housed with younger animals. Older animals will always have a higher pathogen load and younger animals are more susceptible to disease. So if possible, house your weaned calves separately from your adult animals. Similarly, if you're buying in animals, bought-in animals can introduce disease to your homebred animals, or vice versa, homebred animals can give disease to your bought-in ones. So if possible, house your bought-in ones completely separately from your homebred. When we're investigating pneumonia outbreaks, often somewhere in the history there's been animals introduced from another source. So that's something just to watch out for. So hopefully you've picked up a few things from what we've said that you can do. What do you do if you run into trouble, if you run into pneumonia through the winter? Well, it's really easy just to treat animals. Some of them will get better, some of them will grumble on. It is really worth while investigating what's causing the pneumonia. So which of the 7 or which of the few of the 7 are causing the pneumonia, to make sure that you're using the most appropriate treatment and maybe to think about introducing vaccines for next year if you know that these pathogens are in your animals. Get someone independent to look at your sheds. Investing in shed changes is always a big thought, but if it's going to reduce your level of disease and increase productivity, it can very quickly pay for itself, so it is worth thinking about. As always, there's loads of resources both on housing and pneumonia in the winter on FAST website, and we're always happy to take questions or queries as well. One other top tip that I'll leave you with is if your water troughs have been sitting full all summer, make sure you clean them out before you house cattle. That gunk will be full of bacteria, and there's a specific bacteria that is found in water troughs that causes abortions in cattle. So if you want to minimise abortions as well, clean out your water troughs.